Good morning. I found Tobias amazingly inspirational, and I recommend his newsletter for sure. I can see a line from Dr. Lin through Merv Adrian, through Tobias, of pragmatic advice and process. So we're going to talk for the next 20 minutes, 25 I think, and give you a sense of a process and the way we approach this at InterSystems. You know me as, my name's Jeff Fried. If you don't know me, please introduce yourself. And I am the Director of Platform Strategy, but I also have a group that is focused on innovation acceleration, on catalyzing innovation within InterSystems. And I've worked in industrial research, I've done 5 startups, and I'm a dedicated student of innovation.
And I'm Mark Liopoulou. I have a behavioral science expertise with a focus on innovation and emerging technologies. And I came about half a year ago from a Fortune 500 where I run the innovation team there. And before that, I was a director of a decision science lab at Harvard. And of course, just like Paul said, survival is important, taking patches is important. So I also have a startup experience, which is where I started my career.
So we're going to do some audience participation just to warm you up. How many people think innovation is important? How many people are asleep?
This is a hand down.
Great. How many people can define innovation? Okay. This is very common, that innovation is sort of like the definition of art or the definition of pornography. I'll know it if I see it. And I really like the definition from the MIT Innovation Institute, which is that innovation is the process of taking ideas from inception to impact. As technical folks, we love generating the ideas. We love the invention. But until you have impact, there's no innovation, there's just invention. So the process that you use and the ingredients for that is of great interest to me. As I said, I'm a dedicated student for that, and we've built up a group with people with experience in that. We're going to take you through quickly a few key ingredients and then give you an example. And the ingredients may seem like motherhood. Of course, this is very much a cultural issue. To build a culture of pervasive innovation, to have an environment where people feel they're free to ideate and have the ability to take those ideas to impact. But also, there's some techniques, and like anything else, the techniques and culture also need execution. So yes, culture is very important. InterSystems is, from the foundation, a very innovative company. It's part of our DNA. We hire people based on their skill set and their talent. We pay a lot of attention on that. And what we do with the Innovation Acceleration Group is to systematize that innovation, experiment a lot, and go to the results faster with following an innovative process. And then I'll describe a few techniques. I think much like Tobias has a process for success in adopting AI, these techniques are along that process. One set of techniques are called tournaments. And there's different forms of these tournaments, but they're all about generating high quality and quantity of options within a defined space. You have a top-down general goal, not too tight, not too loose, and then you put energy into the system. Hackathons are probably the best known example of this, where you are writing code for a very short period of time. I will say we do 10 hackathons a year in the developer community. Often there are student hackathons. We've started doing hackathons with customers, and that's extremely useful. On a student hackathon, if I walk around, typically these are a weekend and nobody sleeps all weekend. If you walk around after the first all-nighter, the groups that are deep in writing code are the least successful. The groups that have defined the problem tend to be the winners. They write the code on the second day. It's like the Einstein famous quote, if I had 1 hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and the last 5 minutes solving it. So that's a really key thing to these kind of tournaments. The same with pitch competitions. Think Shark Tank. You're not writing code, but you are exploring a problem and at the end sort of suggesting a solution space. And then the third form of this are idea contests, where you're simply generating ideas, or we increasingly are calling these challenge contests, looking at the kinds of problems, large and small. So that's what a tournament is, and we'll give you a feeling for a pitch competition. Who's already doing these in their organization? Great, a few of you. And I recommend that if you're just getting into Gen AI, doing a hackathon to just sort of get people familiar with the clay in parallel with exploring the problems is a great technique.
And we tried the second thing on this concept, the speed brainstorming. Because to Jeff's point, we want to focus on the challenge. We want to focus on what is the pain point, what is important to solve. Because a lot of times, especially when you're technical, you fall in love with the solution. And we wanted to make sure we tap onto what's top of mind, what is important, and ask people in a speed brainstorming, what do you care about? What problem should we focus on solving? Not the solution, but focus on what is important to address.
So that's a great technique. There's a third one that are called innovation loops. We're not inventing these, but the basic idea is that often if you're doing innovation, the flavor it is I got an idea and I'm going to explore it for a while and see where it goes. But adding more structure helps a lot. An innovation loop is the scientific method. Here's my hypothesis, I'm going to prove it or disprove it. And it's time boxed to a couple months. So the idea is you assemble a team, they have a goal, they have a structure that's loose enough that they can explore, and then each loop you either have proved or disproved the hypothesis and you record it. Because if you don't evaluate ideas, what tends to happen with creative people is the idea they fell in love with is stuck in their head. There's a catharsis, and they don't come up with the next idea. So these innovation loops are really key as you get from a selected idea into something that you want to build into your business, your product, et cetera. And then another technique I want to highlight that's really in the resource tool belt is called test beds. Now, you'll probably think of, and it's true, sort of a technical test bed, fairly typical with InterSystems customers that have a production environment to want to be able to tap the data and make that easy for people to build new things, try them. And we do this routinely with Health Insight mirrored with Iris to try machine learning, to try development off of the data without any risk for the production system. With InterSystems TrackCare, this is actually packaged. It's called the TrackCare Innovation Toolkit, which is InterSystems Iris alongside to provide this technical test bed. But we also do test beds with partners, with customers that are about having the right environment set up. With our incubator, our fire incubator, we have partnerships with 3 hospitals, and it's already set up so that the clinicians are ready. You don't need more paperwork, you don't need to set up a new forum, you don't need to call people, and you can evaluate the ideas really easily because that's all set up. So that's a test bed. So we've given you a flavor of techniques. Let's talk about execution for a minute, and we've built this at InterSystems into a program that's now been going roughly 2 years.
So this program has 4 main pillars. The first is the framework, where we're trying to make sure that everything follows a specific process to get to the execution faster. We have, of course, resources that we want to make sure that we provide to everybody that's innovating with us, internally or externally, to accelerate that result. And then we have the ecosystem collaboration. The ecosystem collaboration is practically working with people like you, customers, academia, different partners, in order to increase that innovation capacity and more importantly, to understand these challenges that matter, right? What is important, what do you care about, and what should we focus our attention on? And the fourth pillar, because innovation is so hard, we want to make sure that recognition is planned along the innovation process. So we want to, just like the impact awards, different processes to celebrate internally and externally and recognize people that contribute and go through the punches to innovate within the company.
So within this innovation framework, it's very simple. We're using tournaments to crowdsource challenges and then crowdsource and test potential areas and solutions, and then the winners go into these loops. And out of these loops, they'll go into our regular development processes. We have incredibly innovative development teams. So this is really a supplement for the things that don't fit. They're further out, they're weirder, they may be a different business model, not a different feature for a product. We've been doing this on a once or twice a year rate. We've now gotten 8 projects through. We've killed 2. And we just finished the first stage of this in end of April.
And so just like Paul said, we had about 200 ideas in the speed brainstorming. And from that, we had 11 solution teams where we focused a little more to pay attention and do some work to understand what matters. From that, we had 3 finalists. And then 1 looper is gonna go and develop this even further, understand what would that look like. And you're gonna very soon, this is why these 4 people are standing over there, not just to see the presentation from the back, but to actually show to you some of these finalists and show you what we're looking for and what are the pain points that we're considering to invest even further for the next year.
You guys are key to this because you're going to help select which kind of problems we should focus on here.
All right, so we're gonna pay attention, make sure you pay attention. They're gonna pitch for about 2 minutes each. And you, at the end, are gonna vote which one you think is the most important challenge that we should focus on. So let's start with John. He's gonna talk to us about alert fatigue.
Thank you. I'm John Wald. I'm here to talk with you about alert fatigue. On Monday, Dr. Lin told us that doctors are burdened to the breaking point. On Tuesday, we heard the same thing from Dr. Teisch. And anybody who knows any frontline practitioners, they know that this is happening every single day. Medication alerts are part of that burden, but we really need medication alerts. The reason we need them is because 7 billion prescriptions a year are written in the US alone. 22 patients in hospitals are dying every day because of medication errors, which could be prevented. Thousands of patients are showing up in emergency departments every day because of medication errors. And countless people at home are taking medications and dealing with different kinds of problems. Oh, they moved my notes. Yet the alert themselves are trouble for prescribers. They are themselves also a big problem. And that's because the alerts are missing many of the important details about the patients, a lot of the context. So many of them just have to be dismissed or overridden because they just don't apply. And there's just too many to handle. Imagine if you had 200 messages coming at you every day and you couldn't turn them off and you couldn't act on them. Would you get frustrated? Would you be angry? Or would you be like most providers in this situation, which is you simply get desensitized to them, which means the ones that are going to help can't really help. Our doctors, our nurse practitioners, our PAs, their work is too important and their time is too precious to be overburdening them with medication alerts. So that's the big challenge. But what if, instead of distracting providers, They had systems that gave them alerts they could actually trust. What if our technologies could make the alerts better? Alerts that knew the patient details, alerts that adjusted to provider preferences. What if our systems were so good that providers really began to trust that they could avoid mistakes and keep each patient safe if they followed their advice? Investing in this problem will not only help every prescriber, but every person who takes a medication. Please help us address this important need. Your doctor's work conditions, your medication use, and maybe even your life will depend on it. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Good morning, I'm Bhavya Kanima. And if you really want to understand elderly loneliness and isolation, close your eyes for a minute. Remember COVID, the shock and anxiety when our lives were upended? The fear and stress about possibly losing your job, home, or a loved one? The sadness and anger having to postpone meaningful celebrations and social interactions? Remember the pain of loneliness and isolation. Now imagine experiencing all of this daily and indefinitely. Go ahead and open your eyes. These are the challenges your grandparents, your parents, and your elder friends face. And you could too, because there's an epidemic of loneliness and isolation that's been steadily increasing since prior to the pandemic. It increases your risk of multimorbidity and premature death by nearly 30%. It's as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and more likely to kill you than drinking 6 beers a day, physical inactivity, obesity, and air pollution. It costs our grandparents and our parents their health and happiness, and it costs us, their family, precious time with them. More than an individual issue, it affects the community. Not identifying at-risk elderly and delaying preventative measures robs us of billions per year in health spending and business costs, and is adding more burnout and burden on our already stressed health services. InterSystems brings together clinical data like social determinants of health, technology like Gen AI, and importantly, people together. And by doing so, it can be a pivotal partner in addressing this challenge. We all have an obligation to invest. Otherwise, we'll pay an ever-increasing price. So are you prepared to eventually face elderly isolation and loneliness yourself? Or are you already ready for more time with the ones you love?
All right, my name's Elijah, and I'm going to be talking about sustainability. So as I'm sure everyone here is aware, our planet is experiencing unprecedented change. Climate disasters are becoming regular occurrences with record-breaking heat waves, wildfires, and droughts, causing long-term damage to ecosystems and immediate danger to millions of people. But sustainability is not just about the climate. It's about society as a whole. Worldwide, estimates indicate that tens of millions of people live under modern slavery, with organizations exploiting the most vulnerable. We're at risk of permanently damaging entire populations and even generations by not changing course. So now is the time to really understand these catastrophes. We need to assess both individual and corporate impact and urgently change so that we can build a sustainable world. But you'll be glad to know that things are changing. Organizations are being held accountable with increasing scrutiny. Regulations rolled out, particularly across the US and the EU, require climate risk disclosures, sustainable investing metrics, and data assurance. But these regulations are rapidly evolving, as they should, so we need to be ready. And these regulations affect all industries. For example, a healthcare supply chain will need to report on their full Scope 3 emissions data, including the environmental footprints of medical devices, pharmaceuticals, anything from materials to transportation, as well as the downstream effects of how their products are disposed of. And this accountability really represents a shift. We're moving from reactive engagements, responding to disasters or lawsuits, to a proactive engagement, where we safeguard the rights of workers and the treatment of the planet in any decisions that we make. And this culminates with an extraordinary data challenge. We need to analyze data sets across an entire supply chain. We have evolving regulations in different geographies, and we have data quality issues, with some organizations even greenwashing reports to misrepresent their sustainability profiles. But most importantly, how do we understand our real impact on the planet? How can we rectify our mistakes and work to protect the people that are most at risk? So, I urge you to invest in sustainability so we can make a lasting impact and be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Kerry Stratton. I'm going to talk about emergency relief. I believe all of us here recognise and understand the problems of the overcrowding situation of our emergency departments, whether it be through our healthcare backgrounds or through the personal interaction of either ourselves or our family and friends. Overcrowding in emergency departments is a pervasive issue, and this problem is exacerbated by a variety of factors, including non-urgent visits, frequent visitors, and lengthy extended boarding times. These challenges are compounded by the shortage of staff and the downstream lack of beds available to admit these patients, which lead to direct impact of all our loved ones, our friends, and people that are engaged in the situation in emergency. Over 30% of all patients turning up at emergency are not seen for up to 8 hours, which far exceeds the typical 4-hour wait times. Delay of critical treatments for the most severe cases can also be attributed to triage inefficiency and accuracy of the priority of their case. There is also a frequency of mismatch between patient needs and available resources like beds, available beds, and the actual lack of staff, the reduction that's happened in staff. And moreover, the intense pressure and high demands placed on ED staff can lead to serious staff burnout, which is further intensified by the high stakes of the working in an emergency department. We believe this problem can be resolved. You have the data, and we are ready. Let's use generative AI in order to assist clinicians and patients with all the key problem areas and provide emergency relief today. Thank you.
So let's have everybody come to the front. Very good job, everyone. And so, as you know, we are a very technical company, right? So we're gonna vote in a very professional manner. We're gonna vote by screaming. So, but, we're not amateurs. We have a noise meter here, so I'm gonna see how you guys do. We're gonna do a practice round, and I'm gonna tell you how loud you were. So let's just do make some noise and see how you do. All right, so that was 91. So now, you guys are all sharks, and you're gonna vote for this important innovation work that we're gonna do starting this year, right? So who thinks that alert fatigue should be the one? 88. Okay. All right, so who thinks elderly isolation should be the one. 90. Who thinks sustainability should be the one? 91. All right, so that's getting very tight. All right. Emergency relief. Who do you think won? Emergency relief.
All right. Nicely done.
So as part of our recognition system, we have a fabulous prize for the winner.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much. Thank you, Don.
Where's the clicker? Clicker?
Oh, clicker.
Oh, you saw the clicker already?
Emergency relief.
Look at
Not
this.
only emergency.
Thank you. You relieved us from the emergency.
At high.
Ad hoc.
So this gives you really a sense. I know this was very abbreviated. We have a structure where teams come together, they learn new techniques, they work with people they didn't know otherwise. It's always fabulous, even just for that, and your votes matter. I just want to conclude by just a general message. A reminder that innovation is a process and that we want to do this collaboratively with our ecosystem. So if you're interested in any of these techniques in our resource toolkit, come talk to us.
If you'd like to collaborate with us and be part of the ecosystem, make sure you tell us what you're thinking, what is important, and let's work together.
And if you have an important problem that we might discuss together or work on together, even things you wouldn't think of InterSystems as doing, come talk to us. So thank you very much, and let's give an extra hand to John, Fabia, Elijah, and Martin. As I mentioned, this is the ideation and selection process. We're not yet to impact. It's really difficult to get to impact. It's far more than the technology. But part of our recognition system is a new thing we are trying for the first time this year called the Impact Awards, which is recognizing innovation that has really reached significant impact at our customers.